Hey nerds, in this video I review and do a spoiler breakdown of the premiere of The Last of Us, Episode 1, titled When You're Lost in the Darkness, written by Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, and also directed by Craig Mazin, starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social, I'm John. The spoiler-free summary for this episode is 20 years after the fungal outbreak ravages the planet, survivors Joel and Ellie are tasked with a mission that could change everything. This TV show is based on the video game The Last of Us, which was on the Sony PlayStation. I don't even remember which PlayStation it was, but it's been at least 10 or 11 years since the release of the first game. They definitely adapt many elements of that game. In fact, some of the shots and script, the dialogue, is definitely translated onto the screen, onto this TV show directly from that game as well. They didn't do a one-for-one shot of everything in the game. There are differences from the game as well. So for those of you who have not played that game, and don't spoil yourself by playing the game now, but if you haven't, you can still enjoy this show, as it is a pretty involving, engrossing story that people can enjoy. It's been considered one of the greatest stories in gaming because of the emotional impact it leaves with gamers who have played that game. So hopefully it'll translate well to the TV show, and I think it has. So far, what I've seen, although there are differences from the game, and I myself who have played the game all the way through and finished the game, I can also see differences that I can enjoy and be also surprised by in the way they have adapted it to the TV screen for this show. It's the same writer, Neil Druckmann. He also wrote the game, and his background has all mostly been in video games, so this is his real first foray into TV writing. And he's paired up with Craig Mazin, who has also done the TV show Chernobyl, if you remember, for HBO, which was a fantastic show as well. And the pairing of those two guys, I think, it's a match made in heaven and has led to a really great product in this TV show from what I've seen so far. So far sets up great world building in this. It also separates this show from others when it comes to zombie movies. Definitely goes into the different lore and the science behind what makes this one different, why these zombies are different. But the focus is really on the two characters, Joel and Ellie, which we'll get into a little bit more. But this episode really belongs to Sarah. Sarah is the character that it really focuses a lot of time on, and certainly most memorable in this episode, played by Nico Parker. And Nico did a fabulous job of the audience, drawing in the audience to fall in love with that character, follow along with her in this particular episode. So again, I won't spoil it. It's emotional. There's a lot of pretty cool scenes of the world and the chaos that it goes into when the outbreak or the apocalypse, the zombie apocalypse starts. So enjoy yourself with this first episode as you're coming into the world of The Last of Us. So buckle your seatbelts. I think you're in for a really good ride if it's anything like this first episode that we've seen. So as we, at this point, we'll go into the spoiler breakdown. So warning for everyone right now, spoilers. All right. Before we keep going into now the spoiler territory for the breakdown of this episode 1. If you like this content, if you like us talking about shows like this and would like to see more of it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And that way we can definitely help out with the algorithms and be able to do more of shows like this, more content like this as well. So, all right, let's get right into it with the spoiler summary of it. So we open with the cold opening of many years ago. There's a TV show. There's an interview with John Hannah, Josh Brenner, and also Christopher Heyerdahl. And at that is not in the game. So I'm going to also break down of what's not in the game, and so this was a nice addition. It sets it up very nicely to go into the science of the fungus that causes the outbreak, and particularly cordyceps is what it's called. And it sets up a really grim tone, and honestly, it sounds scary. And you know why it sounds scary? Because this thing is real. Cordyceps is definitely real, and of course they explain how much more real it can get if it were to affect humans, right? And so they definitely go into that. Very nice. Another big piece of nerds like us that pick out little details. Gustavo Santaolalla, he also does the music for the video game, so it's the same music that is brought over from the game and into the show as well. A quick side note, that was one of the criticisms I had of the Witcher TV show that's on Netflix. That video game, another adaptation of the video game, and really from the books. If they had gotten the composer from that game and into that TV show as well, that would have been, I think, a great match made in heaven as well for that. So, going into fast forward to 2003, farther future. So years later, and this is where we are brought to Sarah, Joel, and Tommy in Austin, Texas, and this is where our story really gets going. So the focus, as I said before, was on Sarah. Sarah is the daughter of Joel in this, and we get to spend a lot of time with Sarah. We also got to see a couple lines that are, again, lifted directly from the game, where she is trying to get the watch, that Joel's watch, fixed as a birthday gift for them. Clearly, they don't have a lot of money, and they're trying to make do with what they've got, and Joel is hardworking. He's a blue-collar worker. It sounds like he's in construction of some sort with his brother Tommy. And while they're away, we see and we follow Sarah go into the city, go to a watch repair shop. And that's when we start to see some elements of that, hey, something's not right. Something's going on. You see police cars and fire trucks going by. You hear a radio broadcast talking about some pending emergency, and then of course one of the shop owners just freaking out, closing shop early. So just definitely sets the tone very nicely, foreshadowing what's to come. So she gets the watch repaired for Joel, and that's the gift, and that's where we got to see when, even from the video game, the memorable line of when he asks, where did you get the money to fix this? And she says, drugs. I sell hardcore drugs. So that's a nice little Easter egg for all the gamers out there. So that build up from there, she goes to bed, and you see that Joel leaves because he has to go pick up Tommy. Apparently he's in jail after a little run-in at the bar, and he goes to bail him out. So now you see Sarah by herself, and she's trying to figure out what in the world's going on. And she goes over to neighbors that we were previously introduced to in the episode as well. And that's when all hell breaks loose. She sees the people with the zombie virus, and the one big thing that's different in this TV show is that from the game is they've got these nasty looking tendrils that are coming out of the mouth. Disgusting, definitely raises the disgust and creep factor when you see those things, and so she's running out of the house. Joel and Tommy show up right on the scene, and Joel takes out that the poor elderly lady who became a zombie, and they get right into their pickup truck and get the hell out of there. And so this is a scene that's lifted from the game as well. In the game, you get to play as Sarah, so you see her point of view in the game, in the back of the truck, while the truck is going along. They're hitting traffic, there's fires, the house is on fire, things like that. So it's very panicky. It reminds me of the scene, if you remember from War of the Worlds, Steven Spielberg did an inside the car view where he's doing a 360 panning of all the different things that are going on as they're trying to escape the city. That type of tension, suspense, and it's just thrilling as they're trying to get the heck out of there. That scene has been recreated for this TV show as well, and it translates very well to the screen. So they get into the city, and once they get into the city, another big difference is rather than the truck getting hit, there's an airplane crash that causes their accident. And then finally, as they're trying to escape from the truck and trying to get to their next, just trying to get the heck out of the city, they run into a soldier, a government soldier, who has been ordered to take them out because they think they are infected. And so when the soldier fires, Joel and Sarah are tumbling down the hill, and as the soldier comes upon Joel and Sarah to finish the job, Tommy takes him out with a headshot. You see that Joel is hit, and at the same time, Tommy points to the direction of Sarah, and Sarah is hit. And Sarah doesn't make it. It's an incredible scene. The acting has been it's just absolutely top notch. Nico does a great job in that scene, to where, even though I knew what was coming, she does such a great job in that scene too that it feels like still a new experience for those gamers like myself who have played the game and knew what to expect there. And again, it played out just the same in the game, but again, differently on this show because of different characters, different actors, and the way it's portrayed. So from there, fast forward 20 years later on, in Boston now. We're now in Boston instead of Texas. We're seeing that here's the new world that they're trying to set up. They're in some sort of quarantine zone in Boston. It opens up with a kid walking through, and again, this part is not in the game, but it quickly establishes how the government, or the government soldiers that are in charge, Fedra is what they're called, and how they deal with poor kids like this child that have been infected, to where we now see Joel in the future. He is helping out with, I guess, members of people who are just trying to find work. And some of that work is unfortunately dumping bodies and incinerating them in in the middle of town, where they're just burning bodies. And Joel happens to take one of the bodies, and it's the kid that we saw that was infected at Fedra. Apparently, we thought Fedra was going to give him medicine or some sort. Certainly, that's what one of the Fedra ladies was telling them. The poor kid, "Oh, we're going to give you some medicine to make you feel better," but obviously they were just trying to distract the kid a little bit until they could give him something to pass. And so Joel is dumping his body into the fire. And we also run into Tess. Tess is played by a different actress from the video game, and that's in the video game Tess is played by Annie Wershing, and unfortunately I do have to point out that Annie Wershing recently passed away. I think she would have been great for this role, but I think looking back, I can only speculate that she was probably not chosen for this role because of maybe what she had been going through. And again, just very sad to hear about that tragedy. But she's played by Anna Torv, who also does a great job here as well. And with Joel played by Pedro Pascal, whom we all know from Mandalorian fame, and recently he's just been on fire with a lot of different roles here and there, especially starting off, and he came onto the scene with Game of Thrones. He's playing Joel, and what's different from the game and from what we're seeing on this, what they adapted. They definitely took a lot of stuff out to just get right to the point. So they quickly establish what their mission is going to be. Joel needs to get a battery for a truck to go so that he can take the truck to go to Wyoming to go find his brother Tommy. Somehow Tommy is out there. He is a Firefly. The Firefly is an organization that could be deemed terrorists, but they look like resistance fighters, resistance against the government. And he needs to go find Tommy. So but at the same time, it looks like Joel is doing all kinds of odd jobs along with Tess just to get by, and it looks like some of them are pretty dirty jobs. And so he's trying to get there, and so now they need to get this battery, and apparently they got double-crossed for a battery, and as they try to go find the guy that double-crossed them, what we're seeing there is that they run into the Firefly leader. Now, leading up to that, this Firefly leader has been imprisoning a young girl, looks like a teenage girl, and that's Ellie. Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey. And again, Bella Ramsey, for those of you who've been watching Game of Thrones or have watched Game of Thrones, she was in that show as well, and And she did a great job on that show. She was very memorable with the short scenes or the small parts that she had on that show. And now she plays Ellie on this show. So Ellie is imprisoned. We don't know why she's imprisoned, but we know she's not very happy. Every scene they're showing, she is screaming out of them, "Why am I here? Why am I chained up in this room?" And then you see Firefly people coming in to test her. When I say test her, they're questioning her and I guess trying to check to see if she's infected. And Marlene is played by Merle Dandridge, and Merle Dandridge is actually the original voice actress from the video game. So that's pretty cool to see. And now she's playing the very part that she played in about 10, 12 years ago in the original game. So she is the Firefly leader of that quarantine zone. And she finally explains to Bella Ramsay, Ellie in this case. We don't get to see it on screen as to what she tells her, but she clearly explains to her as why she's important, why she has her imprisoned. So, cutting to a chase where Joel and Tess run into and try to find. I'm sorry, they find the guy that double crossed him, and they find him dead, dead in this building. And clearly there was some sort of firefight that happened, and they come up against Merle, Marlene, and she is wounded. And she explains that in this moment, and because she's injured, she talks Joel and Tess into, look, I'll get your battery, get Ellie to the other Fireflies outside the quarantine zone, and I'll get you everything you need. Joel is skeptical. He thinks it's just, another possible double cross. And Tess sees it as, what choice do we have? Let's do it. What we've got to lose, because we need it. And if there's promise of it, let's go do it. So the three of them make their way out of there, back to Joel's place for a little bit. Tess runs off to make some preparations, and Joel wants to take a nap. And Ellie, again, not very happy. She's very spunky and almost bratty, and definitely doesn't like what's happening. She comes across, looks like a book of hits, music hits, and right next to her radio, and she's asking what do all these things means, and she quickly breaks the code, so we can tell, and this is to establish that Ellie's pretty smart, and she quickly figures out by tricking Joel and testing him that, hey, if an 80s song is played on the radio, it means whoever's sending that message, they're indicating that something is wrong, something bad has happened. And Joel, the look on Pedro Pascal's face that she got him to admit that, was pretty hilarious. Tess returns, and they're on their way. They're going to make their way out of the quarantine zone that night. So this part kind of looks like the video game as well, as they're kind of crawling through tunnels and crawling through underneath cars. So those are very much what you see in the video game as well. And they run into one of the Federal guards. And the Federal guards, it turns out it was the same guard that Pedro Pascal was shown earlier on in the episode, where he was kind of making a deal, smuggling and selling, looks like narcotics to him. And but this guy wants to do things by the book, has everybody with their hands up, and just methodically goes through and decides to test them for their infection. So far, Joel's clean and Tess is clean, and he gets to Ellie, and he's about to do that, and at the same time, Joel is having flashbacks to when his daughter Sarah was gunned down. So he just sees red, just takes out the guard and just beats him to death. And as he does, Tess reveals as she picks up the tester, and it shows red, which means that Ellie is infected. Ellie makes the case saying, "Hey, no, I'm not infected. Look at my arm. This happened, long ago. And she's trying to convince them that, look, this is what the secret is. This is what the secret is. She is not infected, and they need to get to that next point because of that. She's this rarity. Maybe they can do something. Maybe there's a cure for it, right? And so they move on, and as they try to get out of the city. The scene goes to the radio back in Joel's apartment, and over there the radio turns on, and the radio is playing a song. It's a Depeche Mode song, "Never Let Me Down Again," 80s song. So whoever's sending that message, something's wrong, something's bad's happening, and then the camera pans away, and they're out of there. So the this so far critics have been calling this TV show the best video game adaptation of all time, and it's very well made. The cinematics are great. All the emotional beats, I think they hit home runs. The acting spot on, including Bella Ramsey, who again does a great job as Ellie. I think there was a lot of backlash online saying, Bella Ramsey looks nothing like Ellie in the video game, because all the fans of the games, they want actors and actresses to look as closely as possible to the characters that they're used to seeing, whether from the source material, whether it's from books, comic books, or even video games. And in this case, yes, that's true. Bella Ramsey looks nothing like the video game character, but I think the essence of her, the way she acts, the way she speaks, and just her character in general, I think Bella Ramsey hits it spot on. She does a great job. There's nothing in her performance to me that says, she was wrong for the part, or she is wrong for the part. I think she's absolutely fabulous. She's great. Pedro Pascal does a great job as well. He's already has the wounded puppy dog face. I think that fits with the character of Joel in the video game as well. So I think he was cast very well. Anna Torv also does a great job. And Merle Dandridge is Merle Dandridge. She is Marlene. She is the person that was in the video game voicing her. And so they did well in going straight to the original actress for that. And so all in all, it's a great first episode to get you sucked into this world of The Last of Us. And I think it's off to a great start. All right. So I think that's about it for this video. And again, if you enjoyed this, please just make sure that you will continue to like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time, especially for episode 2. Bye, everyone.